Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Layla, and for today's video, I want to share with y'all my financial goals that I would like to achieve before I turn 40. I've mentioned in several recent videos that I just turned 30. It's a big milestone in my life. My 20s were pretty good, but I'm very excited about my 30s, and I feel like it's such a great time to check in. I set goals all the time, and of course I'm setting annual goals and stuff, but I think it's a great time to check in when you're entering a new decade, all the financial goals or just goals in general that you would like to achieve by the next decade. Goals really excite me in general, so it's something that I naturally would do, but I would like to share with y'all. So of course I documented everything in my usual notebook, and I'm gonna go through these with y'all. I don't really know where to start with this. There's no particular order, so I'm just gonna go through them, I suppose. So let me start with financial independence. The first goal that I would like to achieve over the next decade is achieve CoastFI, or Coast Financial Independence. Now, if you have not watched my Financial Independence Retire Early movement series, then definitely check that out. But CoastFI is basically when you have enough money invested in your portfolio that you would not need to invest any further to reach traditional retirement. That's usually having like $250,000 invested by the age of 32. And then if I don't invest anything further, or if you don't invest anything further from the age of 32 all the way through traditional retirement age, you would have more than enough to retire off of. So your portfolio would grow on its own to over $1 million. Now, I don't have a specific year, like in my 30s, when I want to achieve this. It's kind of just a running goal for this decade. I'm definitely gonna have to check in every year, and in that video, the CoastFI video that I made, I shared a calculator, and I did mention that your CoastFI number is something that you should check on an annual basis. So that's something I definitely will be doing, because as each year goes, you may need to adjust things depending on how much you have invested at that age. So it's something that I'll check in on. I'm not too worried about it right now. I don't think it's something that I'll achieve when I'm like 31 or 32. It's probably gonna be closer to 35. It really just depends on the next few years, of course. Now, the next three goals that I have kind of align together, and it's actually a good follow-up to that first goal I just discussed, because the next thing that I would like to achieve over the next decade is to pursue slow-fi. Again, I talked about this in my Fire Movement series, but slow-fi is about enjoying the journey, doing things that really make you happy while investing, and it doesn't need to be super heavy amounts of investing or being really strict with your finances, but rather just doing things that you really love on a day-to-day basis and then investing where you can. And then of course the goal is still to reach financial independence, and maybe you don't actually retire early or anything of that sort, but that's still a possibility. But also, when you pursue slow-fi, you're typically doing something that you really, really enjoy, and you just want to continue doing that. So you may never retire. That's often the case with many fire movement varieties, but that's going a little bit off topic. But yes, I would like to pursue slow-fi. That is the financial independence that I would like to go after. And usually slow-fi is something that you would start pursuing after you reach CoastFI, but I am not doing it that way. So if I reach CoastFI and then I start pursuing slow-fi, that's fine. But the order to me doesn't matter, and let me explain why, because this is relating to the next two goals. So the first thing is that I would like to take a sabbatical, like a year-long sabbatical, but more so for me, that means a sabbatical where I can trial entrepreneurship. So an entrepreneur sabbatical, I guess you could say. This is actually something I want to pursue sooner rather than later. Like, this is probably gonna be in the next 2 years or so, where I would like to quit my corporate job, and whatever corporate job that may be at the time. And this is gonna come after I have this whole plan laid out. I want a certain amount of money saved. I want to be at a certain point with my business. I just want to feel comfortable overall with this decision and actually pulling the plug, I guess you could say. So I have this whole plan, and at that point, I would like to take my business full time. And this kind of pulls in a fourth goal that I have in the next decade, which is to become self-employed. So I feel like all three of those pull in together, because I would like to pursue slow-fi, which does involve me taking my business full-time / doing this entrepreneurial sabbatical. Because for me right now, I work a full-time job and then I'm working on my side hustles before work, after work, on the weekends. My life is not slow by any means. Like, I am constantly go, go, go. There's not too much downtime. If there is downtime, I don't feel very relaxed because I feel like I should be working on my side hustles. And that's fine for me right now. Like, it is working for me, but I've reached a point of burnout, and I'm aware of that. I've been burnt out actually for a very long time. I feel like I'm like a high functioning burnt out person, if that makes sense. Like, I manage it well and I will always be consistent with uploads and all of that stuff because it's just like ingrained in me to do that, and I really, really enjoy this. But at the same time, this isn't something that I can sustain for much longer. It's also not something I want to continue doing much longer. Like, I want to keep making the content, but doing this alongside a full-time job is pretty tough. So with the entrepreneurial sabbatical, I think I should make a separate video on this, but ideally I would enjoy being an entrepreneur. I would enjoy having my own business and living a slower life. Ideally, I would be able to support myself from my business and still be able to invest in that sort of thing. And then it wouldn't just be a sabbatical. Like, this would be a going forward type of things. So I'm going to try it out for a year at a minimum, and if things go well, then I continue to be self-employed. So yeah, those things kind of go hand in hand. And as long as YouTube is still around and y'all are still watching me, actually, even if y'all aren't watching me then, like, I will just keep on creating content. I will document that journey 100% and share with y'all the whole journey, because I think that will be really exciting. It's something I've been working toward for a very long time, and I am slowly getting there. Now, related to my business, my next goal is to create an annual / biannual scholarship or grant, something of the sort. This is something I've always wanted to do, so I would like to, there's ways to do that. It may be this year. It probably is going to be this year where these things start, but I don't want to jump the gun or anything. But I have a vision for my business and I do want it to grow. That's why I have been taking it more seriously. And I don't need to be like, I don't need a huge business. That's not what I want, but I want to make a larger impact and I want to be able to give back to the community. And a part of that is creating scholarships, grants, that sort of thing. And it's basically what I'm thinking is like for students, so paying back student loans, or maybe it will be just like general financial scholarships, because once you are an adult, there's nothing else left, you know, like when you're in college, about to go to college, you can apply for scholarships and grants and stuff, but that kind of goes away once you're an adult, but we still need it, you know, and I think it would be interesting to be able to offer that as a business. I really got inspired by this a couple of years ago because there was, it still is a grant. I can't remember the exact name of it, but basically this like 401k giveaway. It's like a grant that they do every year or maybe twice a year, and the winners get $1,000. Basically just talking about the importance of a 401k, why they have it, why they love it, that sort of thing. And I was thinking, like, are there any other types of scholarships or grants out there for adults? And no, the answer is no. So that's a really big goal of mine to get out there, and it's probably going to start this year. So we shall see. Okay, now the rest are kind of just general financial goals. So next would be to max out my Roth IRA every year. And this would be assuming that I am not past the income limits. I don't know. I don't want to say that I wouldn't get past the income limits, because then I feel like I am putting a blocker out there. Like, no, you won't make over 150K, or I think it's like 138K or something like that. Because like I said in a recent video, that is a great problem to have. But if I can max out my Roth IRA, I want to be able to max it out every single year, even if I'm self-employed. Or maybe that would be like a different type of retirement account, SEP IRA or something else. But whatever it is, I would like to max out a retirement account every single year going forward. I know that with what I already have invested, and if I were to continue to max out my Roth IRA every year, that would help me a ton. You know, since I am pursuing SlowFi, that's what I want to go after, I don't need to retire early. I just want to make sure I have enough money when I do need to actually retire, and I don't want to continue working, or when I reach an age where it's like, okay, you're not on YouTube anymore type of thing, you know? So I do still want to invest as much as I can throughout however long I can, and that's the goal. So just overall, it's very important for me to still continue to invest as much as I can over the next decade and even beyond that. I would like to reach over $50,000 in cash savings. So this would basically be like a $50,000 emergency fund, just a savings account, maybe even 100,000. I don't know. I think 100,000 would be better. But when I think about that, like what I would need to do to achieve that, that's a lot of money per month. Yeah, I just asked my phone to calculate that for me. And based off of like what I have now, I would need to save over $700 per month for the next 10 years in order to reach that. I think that's why I went down to 50K, because, you know, if I were to take my business full time, I do expect my income to go down. And if that happens, I would like to prioritize investing over saving. So by the time I do go self-employed, I plan on having a pretty decent amount of cash. So I'm going to go for 100K. Let's say 100K by the time I turn 40 in cash. And that will likely be in my Marcus by Goldman Sachs high yield savings account. And we'll just have to see where the interest rate is chilling at in 10 years. But hopefully, at least for the next few years, it stays where it's at now, or, you know, higher than 0.5%, which is where it was for a while. Next goal is to buy a house or two. I don't know. I am interested at some point in having like Airbnbs. Personally, I don't think I would want to do long-term rentals. Like, I'm not interested in being a landlord. To me, that just sounds, I know I could have like a property manager and stuff, but to me that just sounds stressful because I've heard some horror stories, and I just would not want to have a tenant that's a problem, you know, because sometimes things can start out well and then things go backwards or things change really quickly, and then you need to evict them, or they destroy the house, or something happens, and I don't know. Yeah, so I don't think I want to be a landlord, but having property where, like somewhere that I could vacation, for example, but also if I'm not there, then I can put it on Airbnb. I think that would be fun. And then of course, I have never like bought a house. I don't think it'll necessarily be on my own. If my boyfriend and I are buying a home in the next few years, by then we'll probably be married, and that's when I would be comfortable with it, but it would probably be together, you know? So I don't need it to like be on my own, but I would like to be a part of that process where like I'm picking out the house and getting to my dream area, basically, in my dream house type of situation, but we shall see. I'm gonna aim for 2 properties over the next decade. Next goal is to reach a $1 million net worth. This is a bit of a stretch goal, I feel. That's why I just put it on here. Whenever I make net worth goals, they're not like, I'm so serious about them. If I don't hit them, I'll be so disappointed, because as I said, if I hit CoastFI, like that's great. And CoastFI is usually nowhere near $1 million. And then, like I said, if I go self-employed, my income will likely decrease, but I would like to continue investing. And if I'm just investing like $500 a month, or maybe even $1,000 a month, I probably would not reach $1 million in 10. I would not reach $1 million in 10 years, unless I like came into some more cash, or my business generated more income. So we'll see. But I'm gonna set that as a goal just because I think it's a fun goal to have. I think over the next couple of years, like maybe by the time I'm 32, I'll be in a very good place financially, just based off of where things are going. But after that, I'm not too sure. So we'll just have to see. And I'm just going to leave the $1 million net worth goal on there. That does not include a house, by the way. I want this to be like just my investment portfolio and cash. All right, my final goal is to, this one's kind of random. It's to fly first class on an international flight. Now, I've always wanted to fly first class, just because, especially on a longer flight, because you get to lay down. I think airplanes are so uncomfortable. It's the worst part of traveling, of course, like the airport and sitting on the plane, my least favorite part. But I do love to travel. I would fly first class if I had the opportunity, if it was like a domestic flight, but you know, I'm not gonna pay thousands of dollars to do that when I'm just flying an hour or two. Like, it's not really necessary. So then I was like, you know, I've been to Australia before, which I'm so very grateful for. That's where I studied abroad in college. No regrets there. I absolutely loved it. It's something I think about like every single day of my life still. But I do want to go back to Australia. And I was like, Australia's the one. That's where I want to fly first class to. But then I looked it up and it's like $13,000. And I'm like, it's not even worth it, you know? So maybe it would be somewhere else, not Australia. That's like one of the longest flights I've ever been. It was like from Georgia to Texas, Texas to California, California to Australia, and that was super long. Like all of it together took over 24 hours. But when you have to sit on like a 15, 16-hour flight, it would be awesome if you could just lay down. So I don't know. I'll see about that one. Who knows? Maybe some opportunity will come up and I'll get the chance to do that. But it's still a goal of mine. If I don't do that, then it's not a big deal. Really, I would just prefer to travel as much as possible over the next decade as well. And going to different countries is included in that, of course, because I've only been to a few, which is amazing, but I would love to continue and grow the number of countries that I visit. But yes, those are my goals. Those are the goals I'd like to achieve over the next decade before I turn 40. I will continue setting my monthly financial goals, quarter goals, annual goals, because that's just what I do. And plus that's how it's really best to do it, because you know, you got to make like stepping stones to the larger goals. So I can't just make a goal of $1 million and not have a plan to get there every month, every quarter, every year. So basically all of that to say that I will keep y'all updated, and I am very excited to go on this journey and see where I end up over the next 10 years. Those of you who are past 30, I would love to hear what you've accomplished in your 30s or what you were able to achieve by 40. Any age that you are, feel free to share your goals by whatever time you would like to. Or I would love to hear what your favorite decade has been in your life, what your favorite age has been if it hasn't been enough decades. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one.